Hi there, welcome to our latest bonus chat. This was recorded as part of our Ireland v Italy rep pod. If you missed it, be sure to check it out on Apple, Spotify, and all the other usual places. Now, being the fan driven podcast that we are here at Harpin on Rugby, over the years we've obviously been very interested in opinions and the expression thereof on various platforms. But in many cases, those opinions can be shaped by narratives that come from the mainstream media. So we need to keep tabs on those as well. And Conor, this week you like to harp on how they have portrayed the origin stories for two players in particular, Edwin Adobu and Sam Prendergast.
Yeah, and it's not just the origin stories. It will then progress to being the continuing stories as well. I want to say, and I said this on the main pod, um, Edwin Adogbo is a great athlete. He's a great addition to the squad. He is the kind of player that he's a great player to have in, and he fits into what's going on. He came on Saturday against Italy for his debut, and for the 11 minutes he was on, he had 9 tackles, and that's phenomenal. And yeah, he'd won disagreement with the referee, and we talked about that at the time on the main pod. But other than that, like he's done great. And when we look over the next few days at the kinds of things that will come out, there will be a lot of positive things said about Edwin Adogbo and how well he played on Saturday and how he deserves to be there. I've already seen a couple of things pop up on social media about his place and how he fit in and how everything went really well for him, and what a great story it is, and it is. It's a great thing to see anyone coming up through the ranks. I think it's brilliant to see a player who has worked from underage level down in Cove and has built himself up and created this opportunity for himself, and it's brilliant. And I also said on the main pod, and I'll say it again now, to the scumbags who are saying anything otherwise based on what he might happen to look like, they can all do one, and we have no time for them in the sport. We have no time for them here, and they can all just get go do one.
Do one, yeah.
Yeah.
Or words there, or other words thereof.
Yeah, I'm
Insert your
conscious
own
this
here.
one goes on YouTube, so I don't necessarily want to use some of the language I'd like to. Um, I went looking for articles that came out a couple of years ago when Sam Prendergast made his debut against Australia. He was on for about 21 minutes, and in one particular article, because he made his debut the same day as Thomas Clarkson, and the two of them, and one particular article I found was all about a huge section of it, was talking about Clarkson and how he got on, and clearly Clarkson had made the time to have a chat with the journalist in question and said some things. And it's actually quite a positive piece about Thomas Clarkson. And then it says, and I'm slightly paraphrasing because I didn't write it down when I should have, but essentially it said that, but Sam Prendergast couldn't do anything to increase our score because we didn't score from the time he came on. And that's a very, very different kind of narrative. Because you're getting this sense of, oh, I thought he was the second coming, but he couldn't even get us a score. And there are plenty of reasons. I was at that game. There are plenty of reasons why we didn't get another score in that match. Is Sam Prendergast the reason for that? I don't know. And then I look at how the media is shaping things already. My favourite one so far today is former Ireland international says the Prendergast question is over. Now, former Ireland international is stretching it for a man who got one cap against Samoa in 2003. One. Sam is 23 as of Thursday last week. That was his birthday. He's only just turned 23 and he's already got 15 caps. So I'm pretty sure he's already better than you, Aidan McCullen. And there are people who are going, who? He played 60 times for Leinster, fair play to him, in the very early noughties. Never lit up anybody's highlight reel, though. last week, my least favourite article I saw was one that said um, they gave Sam a 3 in the player ratings and said, oh, this player can't tackle and he doesn't tackle and he won't tackle, so he shouldn't be in international rugby. Well, he made 12 tackles against France. That's more than his brother made. His brother's a back row. And I appreciate France will have looked and said, run at him. Run at him. But he made 12 tackles.
And he would have been told by his coaches, they're going to run at you.
They're going to run at you, so do something about it. And he did. Are his tackles, dominant, or are they going to, leave some... Look, we look at Gary Ringrose had a cracker a few years ago that we all still like to look at every now and then. None of them are like that. And that's okay. Because that's not the kind of player he is. But when you've got articles already, right, we are, at this stage, at time of recording, less than 36 hours since the match finished. Crowley simply has to be headed for the number 10 jersey. Questions loom over subpar Prendergast. Everyone making the same point after latest Sam Prendergast struggle session. Jack Crowley lends a helping hand. I mean, like, how is this helping? How is this helping at all? In that article I mentioned, where Thomas Clarkson talks about Prendergast, he says, Prendy won't be too happy, he's a bit like Sexto that way, he likes everything to go perfect, and it didn't go perfect for him, so it wasn't 100%, and he'll be annoyed with himself over that. And he strikes me as the kind of player who will probably have sat with a rewatch already himself and looked and said, oh, why did I do that there? I could have done that. Why wasn't I looking at that? He strikes me as that kind of focused player. I can't say for certain. I've never met the guy. I've never had a conversation with him. But just the way others talk about him strikes me that that's the kind of player he is. And he's going to see the nonsense that journalists, and I'll put that word in inverted commas because some of you are, that word is doing a lot of heavy lifting for a few of these fellas. But I don't think you're helping at all. There's a certain element of the internet, we like to call them the ABLs. They're definitely not helping. Don't tell me you have Sam's best interests at heart. You don't. Don't say, oh, well, now, for his own sake, we shouldn't let him play 10. That's bullshit. You're saying that for the sake of the player you want there, not anything to do with the player who is there. A 10 is only as good as the pack in front of him. That is reality. And the best 10s in the world behind a struggling pack will struggle. We have struggled the last 2 weeks. We have not had positive go forward from our pack. And that's why, Crowley came on and we scored a try. But that's all we scored. Crowley's got his faults as well, and this isn't about Crowley. This isn't about anybody else. This is about how the internet is treating a 23-year-old by heaping pressure on him. When even and like I say, some of those people who are heaping pressure on him will talk about their war god, and their war god is the very man who said Sam needs a bit of confidence. He needs an arm around the shoulder. That's what Peter O'Mahony said yesterday. And what are you doing instead? You're abusing a 23-year-old from your armchair like some kind of a keyboard warrior. If you look at Dogbo and Prendergast and their pathway, so I think there's a point where they've played under 20s together because they are both 23. Dogbo is about 10 months older than Sam. And Dogbo on his first cap, he's got 23 appearances for Munster. Sam's got 42 appearances for Leinster and 15 caps for Ireland. But the way you're treating them is very, very different. Where one is isn't he great and isn't he brilliant? And I appreciate one of them didn't get parachuted in over your favourite player and the other did. But that is not enough reason to heap the kind of abuse and unpleasantness that people are. And people who... Where do you get the right to say this? Where do you have... Show me your rugby credentials. Show me why you're saying these things. Show me what qualification you have. I have no qualification. I am somebody who has played rugby. The highest level I've played is Leinster 2A, which is 3 leagues below the lowest level of the AIL, which is therefore a heap of levels below the below the standard these players are at. And I've refereed, and I've been involved for quite a while, and I've been an avid fan for quite a while. But I'm not going to turn around and say, like, at no point, watch back for anyone who's questioning this, listen back to the pod recording we did of the match against Italy, and at no point, and I know I'm raising it now, and that kind of contradicts me, but I didn't even once mention Crowley's failed kick to the corner. Because why do I need to? He knows he screwed up there. Everybody knows he screwed up. He doesn't need help in that. You want to help him. You say, find the good things he does. Look at Sam's 12 tackles from France and say, well, do you know what? Yeah, they're important tackles. They make a difference. Look at the fact 2 of them were on our bloody... look at the Leinster game, the last Leinster game he played, where he's got 2 tackles that are on the try line practically, and one that gets turned into a maul and holds up, and so we get a turnover. Start looking at players' positives. Get out of your armchair and get off your keyboard and look at their positives. And if you can't say something nice, keep your damn mouth shut. Put your provincial bias and your tribalism away for the sake of the national jersey.
Well, the thing is like, it's the media narratives come from that provincialism. Unfortunately, they seek it out. I mean, they've always, you go way back, when there was Ward v Campbell, Humphreys v Raj v Sexton, and they're craving another one of them, because it's the culture wars within rugby that kind of drive the sentiment. And now you've got the online thing as well, so it's the clickability of the headline. So instead of actually commenting on the game, so you can comment on this particular game, Ireland against Italy, and say, listen, Sam wasn't firing on all cylinders. He missed conversions. He looked indecisive at times, this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. You can say Crowley made a howler right at the end. Things did improve when he came on, but he possibly cost us a try bonus point at the end. And you just, even like you and I here now, we think it when we're saying it, either one, it's like, oh God, I have to balance it out now. I said something against Crowley, so I got to say something about Sam, instead of harping on what we saw. We're fans. We buy the jerseys. We go to games. We follow the teams. We're emotionally involved in these games. We've got opinions, and we're just saying what it is. But unfortunately, there's this element out there. So the guys writing these articles know that they can put in former Ireland international says the Sam experiment must be over. That is going to grab a whole lot of people who are watching that game, looking for Sam's mistakes, going into the game saying he shouldn't be there, using every mistake as justification and vindication, and saying, well, there we go. This guy agrees with me. The Ireland International agrees with me. I'm definitely going to click that. And it's all about the clicks and the likes and the engagement and stuff. So this is what's driving it. But as you
journalism, though.
Clickbait
is not journalism. Clickbait is revenue creation. And it's nothing else. And if you need to build revenue by slamming down on some young fella who got booed, who got shouted at coming off the pitch, like, that's not on. I don't care what jersey you wear.
Yeah.
I remember being in Musgrave when the under-20s played Scotland a couple of years ago, and as the Scotland team came out, a bunch of young fellas who were very obvious in their club gear booed the Scotland team coming out, and I snapped at them, because you don't do that. That is not a value that matters. Like, that's not some... First 5 things written in the law book are the values of rugby, and that just isn't it. And I said it to somebody from their club, and a point was made of it, and then everybody moves on. And I'm sure that those same lads did a lot better the next time that they were in that kind of situation. But some of those, some of the vitriol being spewed the way of a player. I'm sorry, if that same stuff was being sent the way of, like, I've already said it. You know, some of that crap is being sent Edwin Dogbo's way, and that's not on. And I know that it's being sent his way for different reasons, but it's still not on. There's no need to be as unpleasant as people are, and that narrative that's being driven, and that willingness to say, I'm gonna buy into that. It's gonna sell papers or it's gonna get clicks, so let's just roll with it. And you expect that from certain tabloids. You don't expect it from broader broader pages. And I just don't think it's an acceptable way to scapegoat a human to make sales.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's particular to him, like you say, he's only young, he's coming up, and he's been, the coaches have shown faith in him, so that's his own story. And of course, here at Harpin on Rugby, we're more of a Leinster focused site when it's not when it's not a test weekend. So we're conscious of the broader theme out there, like you said, ABL or anyone but Leinster, where basically whenever a Leinster player comes through the ranks and ends up playing for Ireland, there's a suggestion that, well, he's just there because he's Leinster.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, and when Leinster have success or Ireland have success with Leinster players, there's this sort of, it's negated by this supposed favoritism. So I think it's important that we at least push back on that a little bit. I'm always willing to discuss it, but there's a lot more elements to it as well. And
and for all those who say, oh well, the Dublin media are saying this, and that's what's forcing Andy's hand, and that's what makes Andy make is it. It's not the.
Just those words, Dublin media themselves are supposed to be, well, that's it. I've said Dublin media, therefore that says everything.
They're involved. They are as implicit in this behavior as anyone else, and as all the keyboard warriors. Just do better. That's all it is. Like, it doesn't take a lot. You can be critical of a game, but to be constantly slamming down on somebody it's just, as I say, unnecessary, and you can be better than that.
Yeah, just be more like us here at Harpin on Rugby. Perfectly
yeah.
balanced journalism 24/7. That's all we ever do. Okay, right. I'm allowed to say that anyway, I suppose. Okay, listen, Conor, that's great. Many thanks for that. And listen, if you, the viewer, have any thoughts on media narratives or anything you'd like us to harp on in future, please leave your comments below. And sure, while you're at it, be sure to like, share, and subscribe as well.